me, this is without a doubt a very high point in black metal this year, and I'm getting very choosy with my black metal. But yeah, I definitely think this is going to be in my end of year list. I just can't get enough of it, really, to be honest. Hi guys, welcome back, and hello if you are new. I hope all of you have had a great week so far. I am very shortly off to Bloodstock Festival, very excited about that. However, before I go, I wanted to talk about Blackbraid and their brand new album 3, because it is absolutely brilliant. But if you're not familiar with Blackbraid, they are a band that bring tradition and heritage together with extreme music to create a truly unique and iconic sound. So theirs is the sound that is taken from the Adirondack Mountains and is coupled with that sort of Scandinavian, Norwegian, Swedish black metal that we've known for many, many years. So as with previous Blackbraid records, there are essentially two sides of the Blackbraid coin. You've got the instrumental interludes that use Adirondack instruments, and then you've got the black metal songs, essentially. The instrumental songs really kind of create that sort of esoteric vibe and make you feel like you are kind of camped in the wilderness of the Appalachian Mountains. So The Earth is Weeping begins with this sort of crackle of fire and has quite a sort of forlorn acoustic guitar component to it, which is then later sort of seasoned with the addition of like bird sounds, and like it sounds like an owl, and that kind of, you know, really heightens that sense of nature, right? Traversing the Forest of Eternal Dusk, though, is kind of, it starts in a similar way with the sort of like crickets, you know, it's very sort of timid in the way that it starts off, but then it has more of a kind of positive sort of sounding melody, but it's still just as contemplative. I can't remember how you say that word. But midway through, it becomes kind of more triumphant and adds some wind instruments in there, and eventually electric guitar, which makes it sound almost like Van Halen in the wilderness, which I thought was kind of cool. I also think that these interludes really kind of enhance the narrative of the record as well. And here's my kind of like interpretation of what I think this album might be about. So for me, I feel like the beginning of the record is kind of like the night before this sort of very poignant day where maybe this protagonist is going to die at dawn or something. So the person is kind of represented as a dying stag. Once that sort of dawn comes, you know, a stag is often seen as a leader. So maybe this person was sort of like of significance or something. But after he dies, he transcends his physical body to become kind of like a conduit between the earth and the spiritual world, so to speak. And he kind of speaks to the different elements before realizing that he too will become part of this world, and then kind of ascends into the night sky. And it kind of has this sort of cyclical feel to it. I feel like, you know, where this hunter maybe kind of passes over, he becomes at one with nature. So personally, the way I sort of interpreted this record is very much the idea of death and rebirth. And that is, you know, I think represented in the idea of dusk and dawn. But the thing is that I find interesting is both of these are very transient. You know, dusk doesn't stay there for long, neither does dawn. And there's also a lot of transient motifs, I feel like, on this album, you know, like wind through the reeds making waves, like water is quite an interesting example. And he became the burning stars, traversing the forest, you know, like it's kind of very much like you're on a journey, I guess. And the acoustic guitar, I think, is very much kind of an invisible thread that ties this all together. I think it's almost acting as like a spiritual guide, and really speaks volumes for the musical side of things. And the way that the guitar sounds, and I'm trying to sort of figure out how to kind of, you know, say this properly, but it feels like a companion. It feels like, you know, someone that's with you on this journey. And because I play guitar, like, I feel like the action is quite low on here, and it makes it sound weather worn. You know, it's gone through a lot of stuff, and it's clearly something that I think is quite personal to, Blackbraid, essentially. And tying that all in, you know, is the album cover. I think the album cover is beautiful. Adam Burke did an incredible job with this, and it really brings you into that esoteric world of Blackbraid. Of course, though, at the end of the day, this is about music, and for me, this is comfortably Blackbraid's best album to date. The dying death of a stag, you know, continues the sort of melodic arc that the band have been sort of experimenting with previously, you know, since their inception, but really I think pushes it forward, and that's because of the strong songwriting on here. I also really love God of Black Blood. It has that real sort of like gnarly, aggressive feel to it, and really shows that Blackbraid can kind of like show their teeth a lot more. Tears of the Dawn as well, and He Became the Burning Stars are absolute standout tracks for me. I think huge highlights of the record, specifically in Tears, which has this sort of like real victorious feel to it, made me feel, you know, basically being like, fuck yeah, you know? And I think Stars, you know, is a really climactic moment for the album. And even though it's like 9 minutes long, it just flies by because of the way the songwriting is. And I really can't get enough of these two tracks in particular. I also love the fact that there's more emphasis on leads this time around. I think that was something that maybe the band could have experimented with a little bit more in the last record, so I'm really glad to see that that's actually happened. And I also think production-wise, you know, the kick drum sounds so much more powerful here. The sound of the acoustic guitar, as I mentioned, and also that sort of, clean acoustic as well. It really reminded me of Immortal, but like in the best way, you know, like Sons of Northern Darkness kind of vibe. I would say the only thing really that I could nitpick is maybe people might get a little bit frustrated in the fact that there's 4 interludes and 5 tracks, and then there's a cover as well. But to be perfectly honest, I think when you understand the world of Blackbraid, the interludes are just as important as the black metal songs, because they, you know, complement each other really, really well. And there's also one little nitpicky thing, which on reads, I thought it sounded really similar to Civil War at the beginning. But once those tracks sort of start layering and the acoustic guitar sort of like comes in again, you sort of forget about it. But that was just like a little niggly thing. So previously, as much as I did enjoy the second album, I think that there was something lacking. On this record, this has absolutely completely been resolved. The songwriting is absolutely airtight. And even though these songs are quite long, they fly by because of that sort of fluidity of the way that the song is crafted. For me, this is without a doubt a very high point in black metal this year. And I'm getting very choosy with my black metal. But yeah, definitely think this is going to be in my end of year list. I just can't get enough of it, really, to be honest. So thank you ever so much for checking out this album review. I really appreciate it. If you could hit that like and subscribe button if you did enjoy it, that'd be amazing. Share with your friends and drop a comment underneath me. It helps with the engagement, and also I love talking to you guys, as you well know. So I'll see you guys very, very soon for more album reviews, interviews, all that good stuff.